What's your thoughts, John, on, share portfolios in joint names or individually? Do you have any thoughts?
Look, my overarching thought would be when we're combining things, we've got to ask two things, I suppose. One is, what's the benefit of us combining? Is it going to outweigh us doing it on our own? And the second part of it is, who are we combining with? And if it's with my partner, are we going to – is this the long-term plan for us? Like, are we the real deal for the next 10 or 15, 20, 100 years? And I'm taking that the answer to that part of it is yes. But the benefits of individual versus joint, look, I would – you've got a share portfolio already underway. It's in your own name. Let them do their thing on their own, and then maybe fast forward from there, any new acquisitions might be together.
I'm going to be really lazy here and talk about investing in joint names.
Yes.
But I'm just going to read, and this is a sample of the Quick Start Guide to Investing audiobook, which is narrated by me. You can also buy the Sort Your Property Out audiobook, which is now out wherever you listen to audiobooks. John's property book.
Yes.
It's on audiobook. So I'll just read this and, because I talk about all the 6 ownership structures, and then we'll talk about this situation with a potential plan. Investing in joint names. This option is great if you're in a relationship and both partners are on the same income level, or you wish to keep your money separate in theory but together in practice. Ooh, getting spicy, isn't it?
It is.
So what do I mean by that, John? Separate in theory, in joint names.
Well, you're basically saying, theoretically, we're actually divided, and it's like my money's mine, your money's yours. Practically, we're actually doing it together. It's joint.
Yeah,
it's
because
real.
If someone died, and you've got to check with your share investing platforms, because I think by default, it's either set up, it might be in the book somewhere, there's tenants in common or joint tenants. And you need to check that, because the estate planning can be impacted. So lots of gold already in that one sentence in this great book. Okay, now I'll talk about tax each year. Each partner's proportionate share, 50% unless otherwise stated, and it's rare for share accounts to be done more than 50-50. And I don't know the answer to this, but maybe you could have some type of written agreement between the two of you executed with some holy water, a priest, and some other type of witness to say that we agree that this account is deemed 70-30. Not sure, haven't seen it. So, each share of income is from each year will be added to each individual's tax return, and to any other employment income. In a similar way to owning the shares in your own name, if you were on a 37% tax rate, income from shares in your name would be taxed at 37% after any tax credits within dividends or distributions. How tax works when you sell the shares. Each partner's share of the assessable gain will be taxed on each individual's income tax return. Capital gains tax rules still apply and flow through as if you owned it in your own name. How is estate planning impacted? This can be dangerous if not set up correctly or with a plan. Generally speaking, when accounts are set up in joint names, the ownership is joint or joint tenants. This term comes from the property world, and it means if one of the parties dies, the surviving party automatically assumes control of the deceased person's share, bypassing the will/estate of the deceased. Most share registries do not recognise the tenants in common ownership structure, which relates to property and dictates that the deceased person's share of the asset goes to their estate, not to the surviving party. Okay, so that's important there. So it's not an automatic survivorship rights. The pros, like individual ownership, it's simple, low cost, and virtually no setup is needed. It's great for getting started and easily to split income each year or ownership within a spousal partner. The cons, it may be harder but not impossible to unwind if you wish to sever the ownership. Estate planning may be a sticking point here if there are blended families involved, multiple marriages, multiple children. There may also be issues with separation. There is no flexibility to sell shares separately. Each will realise a gain or a loss.
Right.
So,
More complicated than individual.
All that to say, can you do an episode on combining share portfolios with a partner versus continuing with individual portfolios?
Buy the book.
Not doing an episode. Not doing it, 100%. But let's walk down this garden path. If you did both want to have a joint account, what I'll suggest first is we're ceasing putting any new invested money into your own individual portfolios. There might be a way in the future that you can transfer shares into the joint account, but in the first instance, we're together putting money in the joint account, not putting any new money in our individual accounts. If the new strategy is we're using ETFs and not individual shares, and the individual ones are, individual shares, you might go, well, we're doing portfolio of ETFs jointly. Our individual account is like CBA and Telstra shares. If there's a bit of a dip in the market or whatever, or an increase or whatever, we'll just slowly liquidate, sell, tax event, and then put in its own portfolio.
We've got to ask why we're doing it, don't we? It's like, well, are we doing it because we're united now and we've decided that we're having this life together? Does it logically make sense?
Yeah, so ordinarily, I don't think I'm a fan of joint accounts, but you can do it. You just need to know that, I don't know, if you're like, one of us wants to sell shares and the other one doesn't, and we end up doing it, well, we both cop the gain or the loss on our tax returns.
Yeah.
Now, the other issue when doing it in individual names, and you get this with the investment property stuff, right? So if the lower income earner buys the assets in their name, they're going to, they'll pay tax on their tax rate, which is lower than the high income earner. But when it comes time to sell, you probably have a better CGT outcome because you've got less income, or you can strategically step into retirement. It's like, okay, we're going to put all the investing in your name. You're older, for example. You will retire first, stop working first. Then we'll sell the shares once your income is zero. And so, I don't know. That's the answer. All I know is I'm probably not a fan of joint accounts. I could be a fan of we have our own accounts with our own names and you mirror the portfolios. And if there's $200 a month between us that's free, we put $100 each into our own one. You could mirror the portfolios. If one person is a bit higher risk, they can do it. It's just got to be whatever works. But I'm probably not a fan of joint share accounts.
Yeah. I'm probably like, what's mine's mine and what's yours is yours and what's ours is each other's.
And because in the event of death, it will, if it's in your own name, it will flow into your estate and be governed by the will anyway.
Yeah, together.
Whether it's joint or separate.